Hey, everybody. I'm here today to talk about a subject that I think is incredibly important right now for today, and that is adverse childhood experiences, also known as ACEs. You may have heard that term before, maybe not. What you need to know is it is an event or a series of events that affects children ages 0 to 17. So, no matter where you fall on COVID, if you think it's a hoax, if you are so freaked out that nobody in your house is even stepping foot outside without a mask on, or if you're somewhere in between, right? I think we can all agree on one thing. It has definitely had an impact on children. So children have been distance learning since about March. Children have been isolating. They're starting to get out and hang out with friends, but a lot of children have been isolating. A lot of children are not sure what's going to happen in the fall for school. Are they going back to school? Are they going to be distance learning? Are they going to do some A/B schedule? We don't know. So there's a lot of unknowns. And they're also seeing and hearing a lot of really, really scary things. So it's really, really important as an adult who is caring for a child that you're aware of adverse childhood experiences. And it's also important that we talk about how we can help children in our lives with these ACEs. Why it's important that we know about ACEs is this. So research has shown us that ACEs can cause chronic illness. It can have a devastating effect on a child's physical development and their emotional development. It can make it difficult for children to bond with other people, and it can actually contribute to addictions and unemployment. So you can see how in the life of an individual those things can have massive consequences, not just for the person but also for families, friends, communities, and on we go. So it is very, 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 very important that we are recognizing ACEs and we are doing our best to prevent ACEs. And in the case of COVID, if you are somebody who's working with children or you're a parent and you have kids at home, there's a lot you can do. So that's really, really good news. There's a lot you can do to help your kids. So the very first thing we need to talk about, and the very first thing I want to talk to you about, because I hear this a lot, is to recognize that children are not mini adults. Their brains are not developed until they're into their 20s. So I often have parents tell me, I don't understand why my kid doesn't understand this. Your kid doesn't understand it because they don't have the brain, their brain's not developed enough, right? So the prefrontal cortex, which makes our decisions and helps us rationalize, that's not even developed in children, not even in teenagers, right? So parents get really frustrated because their teenagers or their kids don't seem to understand what they're saying because your children, their brains are not able to do it like an adult would. So we have to make sure that we're recognizing that the way our kids are developing, the way they are hearing things, and the way they are experiencing things is not the same as an adult. So that's the very first step. Your child is not a mini adult. They're a child. They're developing, they're growing, and depending on what age they're at, kind of depends on where they're at in their development. And there's tons of stuff about that. And if you want to reach out to me privately, I can shoot you some information about that. But just know your child is not a mini adult. Okay? So with that information, how do we talk to kids? Again, it depends on the age of your child. If you have a toddler at home, it's not appropriate to say if you get COVID, you're going to die. Okay? That's scary to a little kid. Now, is it appropriate to say we want to wash our hands and we're going to wear a mask so we don't get sick? Sure, right. You can explain germs to them. You don't have to go into the details about germs. You can make it real basic, right? There's these things called germs. They get in our body. They can get in our body through our nose or mouth, if we touch our eyes, whatever, and they can make you feel kind of icky. Okay. Toddler, right? Now, of course, a teenager, you're going to have a completely different discussion. So make sure that when you are talking to your children, you are talking in a very developmentally appropriate and age-appropriate way. Also, be really mindful about what they're hearing. So a lot of adults often don't realize how perceptive kids are, right? So you're tooling down the road and you've got the radio on and your kid is in the back seat and you think they're focused on their tablet. They could be hearing what you're hearing. And kids, again, because their brains are a little different, they're interpreting it differently, and it can be very, very frightening for kids. So be mindful of that. So what I mean by that is maybe if you're calling somebody to vent or to talk about your anxieties, don't do that when your kids are around. Maybe limit the news that's on. Maybe limit your social media. Maybe limit those things just so your kids aren't hearing that and interpreting it in a way that is not super healthy for them. So be mindful of that. The third thing, of course, is to take care of your own anxiety, because if you're super anxious all the time, your kids are going to pick up on that. They absolutely will. So if you are struggling, if you're struggling with you're afraid you're going to get COVID and die, or you're struggling with like, I don't even think this is real and I don't understand the big deal, and you're like constantly like frustrated, agitated, anxious, you name it, your kids are going to pick up on that. So make sure you're managing your own self. Be very calm when you're around your kids. If you're struggling, reach out to a professional for help, and make sure you're taking good care of yourself as well, which means enough sleep, which is hard when you have little kids, but make sure you're getting sleep, make sure you're getting exercise, and of course, make sure you're taking care of your own mental health. That's so very, very, very important. And the final little thing, it's very simple to help with these childhood experiences, is to make sure your kid knows they're loved and they're safe. So you can say, I love you and I will take care of you. We will take care of you. So a great example with the school, right? I hear this a lot in my practice. We don't know what's going to happen in school. So my response, and then kind of what I'm recommending parents say is, you know what, you're right. We don't know what school is going to look like in the fall. But what we do know is we'll get it figured out, and mom and dad are here for you to support you, and your teachers are going to support you. It might just be virtually, maybe it'll be in person. We don't know. You know, the thing I say personally to my clients is, I don't know what your school is going to look like, but we will be able to meet, and I will be here for you, and we will be able to figure this out. I have complete confidence in you. Look at all the stuff you've already accomplished. It was super scary in March and April and May, and you made it, and you can continue to make it. So it's being very, very supportive, very loving, and let your children know that they are safe no matter what happens. That is key. So in a nutshell, ACEs in the time of COVID, and how do we help kids? And this is super important. We really need to be there for our kids right now. So manage your own anxiety, be mindful of what you're saying, recognize that your kid is not a little tiny adult. They're a kid, and show them a lot of love and support. It's also super important to just recognize anxiety in kids. So if your kid is if you have a little kid, right, and maybe they're having temper tantrums, they're regressing, so they're bedwetting or they're having bathroom accidents, they're talking like a baby, they're crawling, like they're really clingy to you. Those could all be signs of anxiety in a younger kid. In teenagers, we're talking about moodiness, irritability, some self-harm statements. You might hear some of that, fidgeting, difficulty concentrating, difficulty sleeping, lots of that stuff. So just be mindful of that with your kids. And if you're worried that your kid is dealing with anxiety, there's tons of help available. Reach out. I can definitely point you in the right direction. You could also call your pediatrician. They would have some information for you, or you could find a therapist in your area that can help you. So with that, that's all I have. I'm also going to put a link to a story that one of my colleagues wrote to help her young children understand what's going on. And please feel free to use that. That'll be in the comments below. If you guys have anything, I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, I will see you later. Stay safe, be well, and we'll talk to you. Bye.